Good evening, everyone. Thank you. My name is Ellie Weisenberg Kelly, and I'm the Manager of Public Programs and Residencies here at the Pocantico Center. Thank you. And it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the David Rockefeller Creative Arts Center and tonight's incredible performance of NightBirds. We're truly all in for such a treat tonight. The Pocantico Center rests in Lenape-Hoking, unceded land of the native Lenape people. We honor the Lenape, past, present, and future, in gratitude and appreciation for their stewardship of this land for generations. NightBirds is an assemblage of revolutionary 20th century composer Olivier Messiaen's work. Through music and dance, NightBirds invites the audience to reckon with the current climate crisis and examine their interactions with the natural world. Directed and conceived by James Danner, choreographed by Amanda Hameline, music direction and piano by Matthew Odell, vocals by Bridget Haile, violin by Emily Ann Gendron, and danced by Jesse Barnett, Sierra Hendrix, Alexis Crooms, Anna Hull, and Michael Parmlee. Amanda+James have been artists in residence at Pocantico for the last 2 weeks. Their residency was initially scheduled in March of 2020, and we had many kind of false starts with getting them back here, and we're just so thrilled that we've finally been able to have them. It's been such a pleasure and such a joy to have these remarkable artists with us all week. They're an incredible group of people and just such talented artists. Tonight's program is presented in partnership with the Rockefeller Brothers Fund's Culpeper Arts Culture program, which supports the role of artists in the creative process and in the presentation of their work, with an emphasis on artists who identify as Black, Indigenous, people of color, LGBTQ, women, non-binary, and disabled. Tonight's performance is 1 hour in length, and will be followed by a Q&A with the creative team of NightBirds, and we'll have a reception afterwards. And tickets for our 2023 winter season are all live on our website, pocantico.org. I encourage you to check it out. We have some really exciting programming coming up in the next couple of months. Last housekeeping message to please silence your devices. And now it is my pleasure to welcome Amanda+James and the performance of NightBirds. Enjoy. Thank you.
Before we get into the Q&A, we just first want to extend an unbelievably sincere thank you to everyone here at the David Rockefeller Center for the Arts and at Pocantico, especially Ben and Ellie and Kate and all the
Judy.
Staff and Judy. You're all so
We're in love
amazing.
with everyone here.
Yeah, it's been such a supportive and phenomenal experience, and has really contributed to being able to make, well, something we're quite proud of. And I hope you liked it.
I think overall we would, so this was a work in process. This is a work in process. This is our first showing of the full piece. So any questions that you have are incredibly helpful for us in terms of thinking about the work as we continue to develop it. So if anyone wants to start it off with a question, we would be happy to take that, or we could also pose a question to each other. You just raise your hand.
Tell us about the piece. What is your concept?
All right.
Please repeat the question.
Yes, the question was, what is the concept? Essentially, we've just watched a woman's ritual of grief, that she is mourning someone that she's lost, that she commands God to help her, and then she says goodbye properly. And it happens to happen in a forest, couldn't you tell? It belongs to the birds, this space. And so one of the things that we're really interested in is the interaction between the psychological process of grieving, how we process the natural world as we're going through something that's really high stakes for us, and the sort of serendipitous ways in which the world, as we perceive it, bends around our experience.
And at the same time, the indifference of the natural world to our own personal experience was something we talked a lot about.
A lot.
And maybe Jamie selected the works, but we have a Messiaen expert here, and maybe you could just
Matthew was the
describe
one who suggested the program.
Yeah, the works that are the Messiaen pieces that are featured.
Yeah, so we have a number of pieces by Messiaen on this program. As you could tell, not all the same style. The first piece was called La Mort du Nombre, and it was a piece that Messiaen wrote when he was only 21. He was very young, and it was a competition piece, and he didn't win. But it was a piece that he wrote for a competition for the Prix de Rome, and he never won. He tried another year, and he didn't win that either. So we started off with that, this wonderful chamber piece about sort of a tortured soul, Jamie was the tortured soul, and Bridget was behind the curtain, was sort of this angel spirit that sort of guides him to truth and to peace, and in the course of the work, and then we had interspersed. We had 3 solo piano pieces, which were quite a bit later in Messiaen's life, and these were pieces from his piece of 13 movements called Catalogue of the Birds. It sounds really scientific, and in some ways it kind of was. Messiaen was fascinated by birds and had been since he was really young, and he went out into the forests and to the fields for decades, and he wrote down the bird songs that he heard. And that was fascinating to him, first of all. And then he went through a period of crisis in his life at the time of his first wife's passing, and a lot of changes just in the world with World War II and coming out of that. And he decided to change his whole musical language and feature just birds. And so from then on, for the rest of his life, every piece had to do with bird song. And so these are all birds that are featured in their natural habitat with other birds that sing with them, and they're all very different. We had the first bird song was L'alouette Lulu, which is the woodlark. It sings at night. Then the next piano piece that you heard was La Chouette Hulotte, the tawny owl, which is it's a very scary piece. It was meant to show not the peacefulness of night, but the danger and the fear and the scariness of night with this owl call, this hoot. And then the last solo piece was Le Loriot, the oriole, and which is more transcendent. And then in between some of those bird songs, we had his wonderful song cycle, Poème pour me, Poems for Me, which me was his pet name for his first wife. And so this was really a love song to her. He wrote the poems and he wrote the music. And so it's filled deeply with his love for her and at the same time his love for God. Messiaen was incredibly religious, deeply Catholic, and he didn't see a separation necessarily between your human love and your divine love. He combined them both. And so that it's a very moving, very important work. And then we finished with the violin and piano piece, Louange, or the praise of the immortality of Jesus. And that comes from his Quartet for the End of Time, which was written during World War II when he was in a prisoner of war camp. He was a French soldier and had been captured by the Germans. And it was performed by him and other prisoners in the army barracks there. And so that has to do with this never-ending quality of Jesus, how he'll always go on because he died, but then he rose again. And so that was an incredibly important truth for Messiaen all of his life, but especially, I think, at that time where, you didn't know what was going to happen because the world was falling apart in World War II. So we have a lot of different influences in this program. We have faith, we have nature, we have the love for Messiaen's wife. We even have his love for his second wife in Le Loriot. Her last name was Loriot as well, just spelled slightly differently, but pronounced exactly the same. And he even includes in that piece some slow chords. You might have heard me play some slow building chords, and those are quotes from another piece that he wrote based on Tristan und Isolde, that myth of impossible love, because he fell in love with her while his first wife was very sick, and she was in an assisted living kind of situation because she had, she was very sick and didn't know who anyone was. She had, so it was a very sad situation, but yet there was this hope for him in this piece. So there's so much wrapped up in this music. I mean, as you can tell, I could talk for hours. I should stop.
That was great. Do we have any other? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we agree.
Oh, sorry. It was a suggestion that the sort of précis that we were just given be made available before you see the work when we next do it.
Same question. I wonder why you kept the lyrics in French. If you had it in the program in English, I think it would have been a lot more lovely to understand.
This gets to sort of a meta conversation a little bit about subtitles, surtitles, supertitles. Pragmatically, we spent every hour of the time that we've had here so far building the piece, and so didn't have time to put those together because it does take a long time to write them and have somebody run them. Separately, it's possible that we could have uploaded something, but I didn't want everyone to be staring at their phones the entire time. It's just kind of like, whoa. Messiaen, the way that he set his own poetry is also really specific French words. There's a lot of archaic vocabulary that has to do specifically with religious terminology. For example, the last... Yeah, exactly. So if you do speak French, it's kind of like, what the heck? What was that? And so it is esoteric. And so the hope, the challenge that I posed myself was, can we get the thrust of what's going on, what this woman might be going through, just through the sonic quality and through the gestural aspect of the piece. But yeah, no, I hear you. It's a big debate in any mounting, especially in the opera houses. People have very strong opinions about that. So I appreciate that. Oh, thank you. Yay.
Yeah, we love a good program.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. As like a background, yeah, we have a lot of different skins
ideas,
that this
yeah.
show can go into. So yeah, it's we'd love to do it outside, and so you just have that sort of chance encounter with nature. Is the first way that we envisioned the show, because we were supposed to come here in 2020, and this beautiful theater didn't exist. So that was the first idea. But yeah, there's a lot of different images for the set that, you know, depending on how much money someone wants to give us, we can execute. Yeah, in the back.
I did, yeah. Thank you. With a lot of collaboration with the dancers. That's what we've done for the past 10 days.
Yes.
It's
and
really been...
suffering through a couple of the stage images that I forced her into. Any more questions? Yeah.
Yeah, all of the choreography was made for the music. We talked a lot about how, we all talked a lot about, Messiaen is famously very rhythmically complicated, particularly the bird song, and even for Bridget, our singer as
Bridget
well.
is counting the whole time.
It's wild, which was a really fun and exciting challenge, and we also thought of the birds as the dancers as a way for the audience to further understand the music. It was actually a real experience for me working with the music, and I know for the dancers, or I believe for the dancers as well, we've discussed this, that you could, as you moved with it, you could understand it, and we believed that the dancers could provide some sort of legibility for an audience with less familiarity with this specifically quite complicated music, so that was a goal of ours. So yes, very much created for the music, as you may have noticed, not always specifically rhythmically timed to the exact, music. Oh, yeah. What was the significance of the calling of the numbers? A lot of different things. One was that it was a score we developed and worked on during our time here. The numbers each meant something. It was an improvised score, and the dancers were telling each other, giving each other cues for what to do. We wanted something that gave them the opportunity to reclaim the space. So the actual act of vocalizing something felt very excitingly jarring, and being like, Bridget has left, she's crumpled to the floor, she's gotten up, she's triumphant, and now that it's like the nature takes over again. So that was one element of it, and also this hyper focus on each other and on the cues coming from the outside. We were excited by this complex system that it created that felt like it was self-perpetuating.
And playful.
Yeah. Something similarly to how we might view nature and not quite understand exactly what's happening. We don't know why and how the birds are communicating with each other, but we know they are communicating. So an internal language that they had that we could kind of but not quite understand. It was, the numbers had a specific meaning. There was 1, 6, 8, 9, but when they said it was not, that was all improvised, and the movement was all improvised within a score, a set, score of movement. One more question?
Yeah.
We did a lot 3 years ago. Really a lot. We actually had.
Yeah.
So when our residency was canceled, it was March 2020, which, as we all know, was an emotionally fraught time. And we all flew away to our different little parts of these United States. But we did keep the residency time for ourselves and met online for 2 weeks, which was, I think, artistically important and emotionally one of the most important things we have done to be able to keep working. And at that time, we watched a lot of birds. And we watched birds in nature. We watched videos of birds. We made bird movement. We combined that bird movement. We made bird videos. We were like, what does it mean for birds to shelter? What is shelter? What is safety? The world is falling apart. And it got like really deep. Yeah. And then we lightened it up a little bit, and we
in May of 21, we had a little mini residency because we realized we were like, well, we're going to build a skeleton of this show because we were supposed to be here a year ago, and we got Omicroned. So we were like, oh yeah, let's be good. We'll get ahead of the thing. And in that meeting, we really came to the understanding and sort of defined for ourselves like what bird meant, and to use things sort of as a parameter. So like we talked a lot this week about performance quality, how the dancers are allowed to look out, like actively see out into the space. And it's like, okay, it's sex and survival. Those are the options we know of that we've observed birds using. There's also there's a sense of being able to see something and understand what's happening. There's the sense of being able to see the wind.
Yeah, you may have noticed
well.
a lot of head movement. That was birdie.
And just sort of using those as parameters, as guardrails, because there are a lot of improvised moments. And in terms of generating material really quickly, being able to have a sort of a codex that we could push against and say, okay, we're people, we're not birds, but we can take away a lot of options that we would have as human beings in terms of motion and in terms of motivation, and really just focus in on a couple things in order to, make it sort of particular and strange.
Yeah,
and
I was very insistent from the beginning that it's like inspired by birds. They are not birds. Like we're not putting feathers on anyone. We're not like doing headdresses. Like they're people, and they must be people, and they are and like themselves as individual performers and humans felt important to bring out in the piece. But there's something animalistic, and there's something, the like quick twitch flickiness of birds was very integral to the development of the movement, and the quick communication and flocking and following each other.
Because it also belongs to our language as human beings as well. And I think sort of underscoring that dialogue was something that we really aimed for.
Yeah. That it's a complicated question in some ways, but sort of like yes and no. It continued to fluctuate.
All right, actual last question.
Yeah, and say hello. That would be a great way to end.
Absolutely. So to answer your question, the first moment that we have was entirely Bridget's idea. We were doing the show chronologically, and we finally got to this incredible poem, Collier. If we have everyone's email, we can send translations to everybody, so you can take a look at the poetry. It's beautiful on its own right. Collier is this, she was standing here and then moved forward, if you remember the motion. And the poem, to summarize it, is essentially this long list of descriptions, beautiful scenes. And then she says, oh, my necklace, my beautiful necklace. And at the end of it, it's your two arms around my neck this morning. And it's this motion, if you stand up for a second. It's this. this idea that
the opera hug.
Yeah, the opera hug, that you're with your loved one, and if Amanda's singing the song about my arms being around her neck as the necklace, and it's likened to all of these sort of divine and beautiful vistas. So we get to this song, and it's the most personal song. It's the first time I let Bridget like smile for real in the show because I wanted to save it. And she's like cackling over there. And she said, I need to be touched. Like this really, come on, let's do it. And it worked really beautifully. And it was this sort of moment of, is she imagining the birds perching? Is it just sort of, as I said, one of these serendipitous moments where nature and her aspect line up in a way that's emotionally gratifying for her and then for the audience, and then it disappears. So yeah, and
the hand holding in the final piece between the dancers was both a sort of echo of that, and then also we thought of the final piece, Louange, that beautiful, striving violin work.
Yeah.
This like story of grief sort of recurs and happens independently in each of the birds, and we have Lex, a beautiful dancer Lex and Anna, who took hands at the end. We had Anna going through the grief, Lex going through the grief, and they never fully they don't get to comfort each other, but they get to sit in each other's grief. And that is a form of comfort, and then separate, and nothing's resolved, but it's at least manageable.
Yeah, so we have a sort of prologue conversation, musical conversation about this idea of the transmigration of the soul and how to move out, of agony into paradise, and then this sort of postlude where we get to sort of see the birds actually enact their version of what that might mean.
Yeah. You want to come on down?
Come on, guys. Come on.
Say your name.
Hi, I'm Jesse Barnett.
I am Michael Parmlee.
Bridget Haile.
I'm Anna Hameline.
Sierra Hendrix.
Emily Ann Gendron.
And Lex is maybe in the bathroom. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for your questions. We really appreciate it.